Hey everybody, this is John with Ubaldi Reports, and with me is my good friend and fellow co-host Joe Bitts, who's also a retired combat veteran from Iraq. And I'd like to thank all those on TikTok. This is the first time we're doing it, so bear with us as we try to get the bugs out of it. But we hope we have a good show, and we would love your input. So if you have any questions, please put it up there, and we'll try to answer them.
Yeah, John, we're also live on YouTube. Well, no, we're not live on YouTube yet. We are live on Facebook and Twitch.
Okay?
If people want to join the conversation, we'll be monitoring those. If you want to add like a comment or something like that about what we're talking about and what are we talking about today?
Well, today we want to respond to yesterday's announcement by President Biden that he wants to mandate vaccines for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
obviously mass mandates, but he wants to tell businesses that if you have over 100 employees or more, you must have all your employees be vaccinated. And he's going to have OSHA monitor it, and if you fail to comply, you get fined $14,000 per violation. But there's also exemptions into that. And I know Joe can talk about this one because he works for the organization that is being exempted.
Yeah, and I was actually that probably be my first TikTok video coming into Ubaldi reports is that the post office, actually the carriers. I don't know if it's like because okay, so the post office works in a lot of realms, so you have different unions for different sections, but the carrier section is like the biggest one, and we were talking about like 600,000 plus people working as a letter carrier, and those are the people that are driving it, walking it, whatever, to your door 6 days a week. Every house in the U.S. Gets mail is getting having contact with these letter carriers, and the union says, "Hey, we endorse you guys a lot, Biden, and if you want us to keep on endorsing you, you don't make it mandatory for us."
Now, what was the reason why the post office was exempt from that?
Just because I think that was just
Because they supported Joe Biden?
because they support Joe Biden and that to give a lot of money. There's 600,000 plus.
But why don't they want their postal workers to be vaccinated?
I think, I don't know. I think it's just kind of like, I mean, I don't think it's any like, we're not trying to hide anything. You're vaccinated.
Yeah.
I'm halfway there. My family is fully vaccinated. We tend to lean on the conservative side, so that kind of buffs a lot of arguments there. I just think that they're going to get a lot of pushback about uh, mandating a vaccine when you don't have to.
Well, it could be like what everybody else is concerned about is denying you a job or putting your personal medical records out there for everybody to see.
Yeah, actually, so a few years ago, the post office did get in trouble for something like that too. Like they were kind of breaching HIPAA
Okay.
when it comes to like the when it came to hiring veterans and when it came to questioning their ability and their performance, and then that kind of came into play, and they got sued crazy.
Well, but here's another thing, though. Okay, and we're speculating why the post office is being exempt. Okay.
So I heard two things.
Okay, but let me finish this part.
Yeah.
We're speculating why the post office is being exempt. So when President Biden announced this yesterday that he wants everybody to be vaccinated, businesses over 100 employees, you must vaccinate or you can get fined. OSHA is going to monitor this and fine you.
Mm-hmm.
Why hasn't the media asked that simple question? Why is the post office exempt? If the post office and you're a postal worker,
Yeah.
you're touching everybody's personal mail and packages and dropping them off at their house.
Yeah.
And I've seen you on your route. You do interact with people.
All the time.
So this is how you're going to stop COVID. And then the other part that nobody asked, the other group that hasn't been, won't be, or will be exempt from this, is all those crossing the border. They haven't been vaccinated. They're not tested. They're not wearing masks. And they're not self-isolating. And what they're doing is they're pushing them out throughout Texas, throughout Florida, and throughout the United States. So he's really railing against Texas and Florida,
Yeah.
Republican governors. I know Florida's been getting a lot of illegal migrants. So if they're tested, excuse me, if they've got positive coronavirus, which we know many of them have it,
Mm-hmm.
aren't we spreading the virus into these states and then blaming the state governors for the increase in COVID in their states? Isn't that an accurate assumption?
It would be, but I mean, what if? Okay, but if we're going statistics, technically, yes. When you if you have COVID and you're carrying it and you can spread it very easily, yes. But still, have you had COVID yet? I haven't had COVID yet. My wife hasn't had COVID yet. My kids have gotten maybe sick, but after getting tested, they haven't gotten COVID yet. So I think the percentage of actually having COVID is very low. Now, should we be checking them to coming over the border? Absolutely. But to theorize that every single migrant or immigrant that's coming over,
I'm not saying every migrant is coming over, but there are a lot of migrants who do have COVID. That's proven.
yeah,
Like Customs and Border Patrol have said, these individuals have coronavirus, but and then we're unsure how many that they didn't catch have COVID.
hmm,
So even if you have a bunch of them and they're not self-isolating, they spread it to other people, they're not wearing masks, and they sent them to the four corners of the United States. So why hasn't the press asked President Biden that? The only reason why they can't ask President Biden, he doesn't take any questions.
true.
And then when he does, he always opens up, well, here's who they told me to call on. So we're not getting, I mean, as much as people bemoan Donald Trump, he's answered more questions from the press in one press interview than Joe Biden's asked all year.
So if we're going to go into media, that's where I think media is screwing up. I think by media scrutinizing everything that Donald Trump did under his presidency made him a better president because whenever a situation or something of note should have been taken care of, whether it's the border crisis or certain things that are going on through his presidency, they were on him, and he would take questions, and he was always there. Whether it was negative, okay, it was all negative. I don't think there was anything positive about him doing it.
He answered all their questions and stayed to answer all.
Yeah, yes,
Wallace back in August. And Chris Wallace is no fan of Donald Trump. That's a given. But Chris Wallace even said, Donald Trump came on my show. He said, everything's on the table. He stayed and answered every question that I had. And there were some things that came out of it that were controversial, but he answered every one of them. President Biden hasn't been on any of the major talk shows. He's always on very softball questions, and they're never asking him tough questions. Look at the Afghan situation. I mean, there's a prime example. Who made the decision to leave Bagram? You say the military commanders were on board, but that's not the truth. They were given, you set the parameters that they have to go by. Now, the military commanders have things they answer for themselves.
yeah,
But who made that decision? Who made the decision to leave Americans behind? And I've got contacts at U.S. Central Command and U.S. Special Operations Command. The Special Operations Command is Green Beret Special Forces, and CENTCOM is the one that controls the military combat operations in the Middle East to include Afghanistan. They all said a message went up
hmm,
from CENTCOM to the Military Command Authority. That means directly to the Secretary of Defense and to the White House.
yeah.
And they told me that the decision was made. They couldn't tell me because it's classified, and I'm not okay. I got it.
Yeah.
And the decision was made. Who made the decision to leave Americans behind?
So I relay that back to the media. I think
They're
that
not asking these questions.
exactly. I think had they scrutinized President Biden as well as they have, as much as they were scrutinizing President Trump, I guarantee Biden would be on top of his game, and you and I would have very, very little to question about this man, because if something came up and his administration would tackle the problem at hand, whatever the media is bringing up, bringing it to the attention of the people, he would be as good of a president as Donald Trump is.
What would have shown last year if the media held him to the same standard as Donald Trump? It would have shown that either he's up to the challenge or his cognitive decline
Yeah.
would have came up.
So yeah, that too. But I would like to maybe argue, or I would also like to maybe throw it to the media, that the media actually, instead of hindering Donald Trump as a president, it was actually making him a better president.
But even okay, but even extended to other issues on Afghanistan. Mark Milley, the chairman of Joint Chiefs,
Yeah.
I think it was in May of this year, said the Afghan army was ready to go. They could stand up. They could stand at least stand for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When is the media going to ask Mark Milley? Because General Milley, you said this. How did you get this so wrong?
Yeah. I mean, was Biden aware of the fact that we left Bagram Air Base on July 6th?
Yes, he was.
Because
He was the one that ordered it.
because when I talked to you and you mentioned it, I was like, and you're like, yeah, we left July 6th. I was like, wait, what? Because I just figured something. I figured I didn't find out till the week, of when everybody was, when they were leaving. Had the media known that, I think this whole withdrawal would have been so much different and maybe even so much better.
Well, but here's the point. In April, President Biden gave his announcement that we are going to withdraw U.S. forces entirely from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. The media should have been asking them, okay, how's that going to look? How is the Afghan government ready to stand up? Is the Afghan military ready to go? Then you go by General Mark Milley, Chairman of Joint Chiefs, in May saying, yes, they're ready to go. Then we pull out of Bagram on July 6th. Did you let our allies know? No. The allies are there. We have more allies with troops in Afghanistan than U.S. forces, but our forces are better equipped to deal with a lot of the challenges. So we pull out in the middle of the night. The Afghan commander,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't even know. So he shows up the next morning and he goes, "Where's all the Americans? They're gone." So when we left, this hampered the Afghan military. They're looking at it like, wait a minute. If the Americans left their most prized base, what does that say for conditions on the ground? So when we left, we pulled out all our logistics. We had contractors that were servicing the Afghan Air Force. The Afghan Air Force went through fits and starts, but for the last couple of years, they've been doing a lot of the combat missions.
Yeah.
And they're doing a very capable job.
Mm-hmm.
But when we pulled out, the contractors that service those aircraft left with us.
Yeah.
So the Afghans didn't have this anybody servicing their aircraft. All the munitions, like the logistics for that, we pulled that out as well.
Yeah.
So we threw them under the bus. So my next question is: once we pulled out, did anybody think about the $80 billion worth of weapons that we left? Who made that decision to leave?
Well, okay, let's maybe finish this up because I want to get back to the mask or the vaccine max, because I think a little people, I think you and including you and I are a little Afghaned out. But I mean, if that was supposed to be there for the Afghanistan army, then I can understand why they left it there. But if there was a prediction, right? Didn't the White House already think that it was going to fall back under Taliban within like what, 90 days?
Dave was thinking there was no way. First of all, there was no way there was going to be a Saigon-like moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was their fault. But
Yeah.
then the question I want to know: didn't you understand the institutions were faulty, were corrupt, were not paying the Afghan soldiers their requisite pay?
They didn't.
Didn't you understand that the government was corrupt? I mean, but see, these are all questions that need to be asked. And then from a military standpoint, you guys agreed and you guys let the president say that you agreed to this. Did you agree to close that Bagram? Did you agree to use? I've been to Bagram. I was stationed there in 2002. It's a great place, wide open, easy to defend, and there's really one way into the Bagram Air Base. And I've been to Kabul. Kabul is 5 million people, and you're going to secure an airport for 5 million. I mean, and then who made the decision? None of the military commanders objected to the pullout when you left Americans behind.
Mm-hmm.
And this last point I want to make: last year when Joe Biden won the presidency, got it was contentious when he won it. There was like 90 national security advisors and foreign policy hands, military generals, flag officers, admirals, and everything, all said that the Joe Biden foreign policy team is the best foreign policy team we've had in generations, if not the best we've had since the end of the Second World War.
Yeah.
This foreign policy team knew about the drawdown and still left us stuck. And we still have Americans left. We don't know how many Americans are left behind. We're working with the Taliban, and the latest statement, National Security Council, oh, the Taliban are very professional and helpful. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You just armed organization. Tomorrow is the anniversary of 9/11, where they remember and commemorate all that were lost. Lost what? 20 years later, we got the Taliban back in. We rearmed the terror group. Al Qaeda's back in Afghanistan. The number one leader in the Akani network, who's got about a $5 to $10 million bounty on him by the FBI, is the number two in the Taliban government. When we released Bo Bergdahl for those 4 terrorists in Guantanamo, all 4 of them have high-level positions. One of them is the Defense Ministry, one of them I think is the Interior or Information Ministry. All 4 have high-ranking positions in the Taliban government. Oh yeah, this is a great day for America.
So what does a professional terrorist look like? Is he kind of like, like 3-piece and...
No, they were the traditional Islamic dogs.
I mean, because like you say professional terrorists, I figure they're a little bit. I think they're a little bit above. Like they're not wearing jeans. They're wearing like some slacks and yeah. I don't know. I mean, hey, they said that they're professional terrorists. So I want to know what a professional terrorist looks like.
Well, you can see them. They're the ones running the Afghan government and the Taliban. So that's them.
President Biden yesterday comes in and yeah. No, I gotta get. You're like I gotta score over here. And he, first of all, what I don't understand is that the unvaccinated, listen to what I'm about to say, are a threat to the vaccinated. How? Where does that come from?
With Joe Biden, I don't know. It's interesting. They're the ones last year who said follow the science. Now, there's an interesting quote, and I always bring this up that nobody seems to remember this. If I tell our listeners on TikTok, all you have to do is Google President Eisenhower's farewell address. And everybody can talk about and reference the military-industrial complex. So go to that article or go to that speech. Go to where he says the military-industrial complex. Read 3 paragraphs below that. And he talks about, I'm going to paraphrase, I don't know what the exact phrase was, but he basically said, we need to embrace science.
Yeah.
But then the next sentence he said, be wary of science who are trying to push a particular type of ideology, all in the guise of trying to retain that government contract, that government grant.
Yeah.
So he says embrace science, but also be wary of science who are pushing an ideology. And that's what we've got now.
Yeah.
We've got dueling scientists like, okay, Dr. Fauci, he just was caught in a lie.
Yeah.
When Rand Paul asked him, did you fund the Wuhan lab gain of function, where they changed the alter of the virus? And he says, no. Well, now we're finding out in the leaked email, he did know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, and even Dr. Fauci has been all over the map.
Yeah.
If you go back to last year, he said, well, the coronavirus will not be a big impact on the United States. Has a heavy impact. First, he was for masks, then he's against masks. Then he was against vaccine mandates. Now he's for it. It's just like, and then you got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Last year they said, if Donald Trump says take the vaccine, I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
So you wonder, confused. If you don't take it, so why should we believe you?
Would it be vice versa if maybe Donald Trump was still president? Would the left be more adversarial? Is it about us, not about us. Like if Donald Trump's like, you guys should really take this vaccine, and they're like, oh no 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 no, you know,
Well, they did it. Kamala Harris was on TV, and
prior. But as soon as the Biden administration comes in, it's almost like okay, and I try to say this without saying this, but it's almost like Pfizer is kind of kind of greasing some palms over
well,
to get.
that was interesting you bring that up because they knew the vaccine was all right, was good to go in October, but they didn't release the findings until 4 or 5 days after the election was over.
Mm-hmm.
So when they, and I'm just gonna say this. I mean, when they say the election was rigged,
What about the erection?
the election was rigged. I look at it from a different perspective. I don't know what was in the lawsuits.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them, but the way I saw it, it was rigged in this way. You had the tech companies suppressing stories.
Yeah.
The Hunter Biden one in particular. You had the media not asking Joe Biden any questions.
Yeah.
And if they did, it was like, what ice cream do you like?
Yeah.
And then the biggest problem I saw was you had the governors and the courts do universal action
Mm-hmm.
without going through the legislative process, changing the rules all the way up until the day of the election.
Yeah.
And that's not the way we do things in America. That's where I saw the problem when it came to the 2020 election.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's different. Everybody sees things different about whatever the reason is Joe Biden's president. But
Yeah.
the point is, we don't have a free and independent media. They're state sponsored. This isn't me saying this. Jonathan, I know I mentioned this like a billion times, but Jonathan Turley.
But never on the live stream yet.
Never on the live stream. Jonathan Turley was a constitutional scholar from George Washington University. For our listeners on TikTok, he leans center left, but he can divorce his political views from his legal views. And he said the media has gotten more confrontational and more partisan in its coverage.
Yeah.
They won't cover certain things, but they'll cover it when it's negative against the Republicans. They're all in on it. But when it's negative against the Democrats, they're in quiet.
And I want to kind of say that about us to the audience too, is that so we have a little bit of left leaning, we have a little bit of right leaning. So we like to kind of be, I would say we're more moderates than we are conservative or liberal. And, look, I want to praise this administration for the good things that they have been doing. But like we've had a chat over dinner, what is the best thing that Joe Biden has done for this country so far?
The only thing I can think of is the rhetoric is down.
Okay, but no one ever. But he doesn't. But that's just kind of like they're keeping him at bay anyway.
And see, the thing is with Joe Biden is he campaigned, I'm the moderate, I'm the grown up in the room, and he gave his inaugural speech, I'm going to bring the country together, and he's done the polar opposite. His court cases have lost. This one should be appalling to everybody. When he did the eviction moratorium, he even said, I don't have the legal authority to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway, because by the time it gets to the court, we'll be better situated to handle it.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? Or look at his last stimulus bill that passed in March.
Mm-hmm.
There was a way to help farmers.
Yeah.
Well, he would forgive farmers' loans if they were their national origin or their ethnic makeup.
Yeah, but if they're white, no.
And that's when they lost in the courts. That's specifically discriminating against a class of people solely because of their skin color.
Okay, so let's kind of go back a little bit. So the administration kind of goes, hey, because of COVID, the renters moratorium, right? And then the Supreme Court comes back and says, oh, you can't do that. And then the CDC is like, oh, yeah, well, we're going to do it. And they can't do that crap either.
They don't have the authority through the executive. All the Supreme Court says, and this was by Judge Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
If you want to do it in the legislature, you're more than welcome to do it.
Okay, now let's just kind of pause for a second. We have the vaccine mandate that first of all, he said he wasn't going to mandate, but he's doing it anyway. But he's going through the Department of Labor.
He's going through OSHA to do it.
Okay, now is that kind of like the same thing that he did with the CDC and the renters moratorium. So pretty much they can just kind of come in and be like, the Supreme Court's going to come in and says you can't do that.
Exactly. Well, yeah, Supreme Court will because of the judges they have on the court. The judges they have, as much as the liberals and the progressives want to promote the conservatives,
Yeah,
all the conservatives go to is they're more like, especially Amy Coney Barrett,
yeah,
Judge Kavanaugh, they're more textualists. Which they do is a lot of these decisions, like take abortion. And I read a book on Justice Anton Scalia's writings.
hmm
He didn't debate abortion was right or wrong. He said it should have been debated and decided at the congressional level, but most importantly, it should have been debated at the state level. So when the latest abortion case that came up and the Supreme Court refused to hear it, that was the Texas abortion case. All they said is that's the where it should be adjudicated is at the state level. So the social issue should not be handled at the Supreme Court level. That's all they're saying. Basically, is what the founders did. They wanted more of the power to be reserved by the states, not the federal government.
yeah.
People need to understand. But the liberals want everything done by the federal level. That's just like their voting bill. That's was it a John Lewis bill or whatever the other one's called. But
This
they
this
want
say no to Jim Crow law.
yeah, but they want to nationalize the elections. And what they would say, so if the states, let's say Florida, where we're at, if Florida makes a change to its election law, they have to seek approval by the Justice Department. But the Constitution in Article 2 is clear. All rules by voting are reserved to the states,
Yeah.
not the federal government.
So for our listeners, hey, guess what? We're on TikTok, and we if you look, John has a plethora of videos, just kind of giving those little bits of fact, and that's what we're trying to convey. Is like that is fact. John doesn't put his opinion in there. He produces fact, and when he says it, that's what he means. It doesn't mean it's going to change from time to time, but if it changes, his fact changes. Um, but with that, also, I mean, hey, you know, I think we'd be great for TikTok because not everybody gets all this information. They're kind of just like breezing through, and there's a lot of misinformation out there, isn't there?
And if I state something that maybe something different that you heard, let me know, and I'll go back and research because I'm always trying to update to make sure I have my facts correct.
Yeah, and since our podcast listeners don't want to berate us with questions, I mean, we'll definitely take them off of any social media, TikTok. We are live streaming, and I think this is a better approach for us, especially with the American people, and plus everybody maybe looking at us abroad. So, it's also interesting on like what's going on. Uh, is it a little the dictator-ish, I guess, for the authoritative. There we go. That's the yeah. Joe, no good with words. I forgot to write that in my crayon. um, so is he kind of having authoritarian kind of moment, Joe Biden? It seems like everybody was touting Donald Trump as Hitler, and it seems like kind of Biden's kind of like eking like over there.
I almost guarantee it, Joe Biden's authoritative.
Yeah.
Some of his edicts that he's done, or even like he's telling everybody on these military boards and commissions, I want your resignation. Donald Trump had Obama appointees, and when their term was over, he appointed just like every president has done.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's appointed who he wants, but he never told the Obama appointees, you must submit your resignation. I just wish the media would jump on that. Like even on the going back to COVID, here's what most people don't know. There's a big fight right now at the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration.
Yeah.
Some of the senior leaders have resigned. Was over the booster shot.
Mm-hmm.
Biden wants to get it out, I think, by the end of this month. All the FDA said was, we need more time to study this.
Yeah.
But they're getting pushback from the political side at the White House. And still, right now, I mean, think about this. We have a permanent FA director. I think last month, Jen Psaki, the press spokesman for the president, was asked that. Well, we want to make sure we get the right person in this crucial position. Okay, that's great. But you knew last year we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So did you not think to find somebody
Yeah.
to fill that position?
So it was a good Friday night podcast. A little late. But I think everybody this is how we're gonna be like doing stuff periodically. What's our good day? Wednesdays is probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending, is when you do the live stream and we do the TikTok live. Go on TikTok, follow, like, share with like-minded people like us and like you, and just get the word out there so we can give you more videos and stuff like that. So we can do more live streams. John, you got it? Why don't you let them know how they can get a hold of us?
Well, first of all, if there's a topic that you want us to research and discuss, let us know that, and we'll do that. But you can check us out, or you can follow us. You can get in contact with us by going to ubaldireports@gmail.com. That's ubaldireports@gmail.com. Or you can go to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Ubaldi Reports. If you're on Facebook, there's Ubaldi Reports group, and let us know what you think, and keep checking us out on TikTok. And we'd love to hear from you guys. And thank you for listening. We want to keep this going.
All right, everybody have a good day, and we will talk to you soon.
Have a good day, and keep listening to Ubaldi.